right, it's 6:04. Looks like we have a picture. I'm going to do a sound check right now. I didn't like that. Sound check 1, 2, 3. Sound check 3, 2, 1. Sound check once again 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my goodness. Kol Nidre. One, 2, 3, 4. Checking again. Kol Nidre. V'yasorei. Ushavuei v'charmei. V'konomei v'chinusei. Would you like it to be? All right, well, we will Zoom it. We will Zoom it. Well, no, we're not going to Zoom it. We're going to send it on YouTube. Conjunctive. Did you get wet coming in? As soon as I asked that question, God says, what do you think? Conjunctive Harlan. Peter, during our service, if people come in like that and we're davening, would you just pop out and ask them to? We used to have hall monitors out there, but we didn't think we needed them. Yes. Yes. Okay, sound check. I guess I can hear myself. How about when I sing? I have to sing something holy. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. That's holy. Welcome, Cantor. Well, so they played around, unbeknownst to me, with our dials. They thought they put them back. When they did an early sound check, I couldn't hear it on Zoom, so I need you to mic up, and we'll check you. Yes. And I want it to make sure that we can hear it.
Who played with it?
Tom Berman and Steve Bryn. You know, we have a big event here on Sunday, and so they're also Zooming that, but they're using YouTube. Zoom. And so it's a little different setup.
Do you want to put this new?
No, I'm sorry. You've already got new ones on there. I meant to take that away. So if you can speak first, we'll forever hold your peace. And then we'll try something singing. My mic seems a little loud, but it didn't seem to come across on there too much, so
Okay.
just say a few words.
Chatima Tova. Thank you for coming despite the rain, or because of the rain, or maybe both.
this is how they hear it on
I
there.
can hear myself.
You can, okay.
And now you know I only hear
Yeah, I
from
know,
one
I
side,
know.
so it's
Can you just do one or two,
Sure.
just like a couple of notes?
I'll give you my best note.
Okay. Which one is that? any note. You know, I'll take your worst one. I don't care.
La 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 la. I think it's coming through.
Okay, good.
Is it too loud?
No,
actually?
it's not now. I had to turn it up a little bit, though.
Okay.
So I think it's okay.
I want to make sure I don't there's no distortion, but
Okay.
I
Okay.
trust you.
Mazal Tov, father of the bride. Thank you so much. We had such a great time. I haven't got a chance to talk to you since then. It's been so busy, but are you planning still to address the multitudes here? Okay, that's fine. That is fine. You want to try it again, or are you comfortable that you have it? Okay. Okay. I wonder if it's because my mic is my mic covered up. I can't even see it, but
It is covered.
so that's
a little
maybe
bit,
part of the problem. I'll move it up a little bit.
maybe.
I'll move it over here. Anytime you're ready, I can.
Okay. Shalom Rav.
Okay. But that's as loud as it goes at home. Okay. I'm going to have to ask all of you to please quiet down a little bit. You can't conduct a service like this. It's the quietest congregation I ever saw. Yeah, there'll be a couple of times when I'll ask a question tonight, and whatever you tell me, I won't be able to hear it anyway. I spent the whole day working in the yard, chopping wood and carrying heavy stuff, and so I would have plenty of. Oh wait, no, that's the opposite. I spent the day doing nothing, just working in here, turning the lights on, getting the flowers ready, putting new batteries in the mics. Yeah, these are the. sure. I wouldn't be happy either. Welcome, Rebitson. Nice to have you with us tonight. Yeah, I know him very well. He was the rabbi of Sherry Tefillah when I was there. Yeah, and I like him. He's a nice guy. Well, in order to get us on our way, we'll start on time, which I think is 6:30. And I would like to welcome you all here. We've been fooling around a little bit, but now this official welcome. A good Yontif, Chag Sameach, even though it's not typically a happy holiday. We're happy to see you here, whether you're here in person or you're seeing us on YouTube, and I hope it's coming through okay. If for some reason you're having any trouble with either the picture or the sound, leave a chat so we can adjust it later, and I will see it. Tonight, as I was here on Rosh Hashanah, I'm joined on the beamer by Cantor Sheila Nesis, and I can't tell you how happy that makes me. And I think that, at least for me, she made my Rosh Hashanah much more enjoyable, much more spiritual. And so, in that note, I want to tell you that we began working in the beginning of the summer to come up with a program that would be meaningful and spiritual for all of you. And we went through the entire Machzor, and we came up with what we thought was a good plan. And then COVID came back. And then we thought that we were going to cancel services altogether, so we came up with a plan for only Zoom. And then we said, well, looks like we'll have a hybrid, so we came up with a third plan. Just got a message, volume too low.
I'll go when I adjust you. You're on.
My microphone went off?
I'll give you a little more.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me know, Sam. We're working on it. Now we begin to fill up. So I do want to say once again that we now have come up with a plan to present a program tonight and tomorrow, which we again hope is meaningful and spiritual for all of you, with the goal of not having us inside the building for extended periods of time, to be on the safe side. And so if you see some prayers, hear some melodies that you like, and you expect to hear them 4 or 5 times as these are normally repeated, that won't happen. And we are going to try and say at least one of everything that we're supposed to, and in the interest of time and the interest of exposure, we'll do the very best we can. We invite you back next year to see the entire program as we expected to have this year. And with that, I will save my remarks for later. Cantor, is there anything that you would like to say as we begin Kol Nidre?
I'd like to begin with a song, because that's what cantors do.
Yeah.
And I'd like for us to have an opportunity, even through our masks, to come together with one voice. Because to say we are sorry, to say I am sorry, is a hard thing to do. It's always better to do it together in community. We do have that in common. So we're here to support each other. Let's begin with a nigun, a wordless melody. You do not need your machzor right this minute. And this is how it goes.
Ask you now to turn to page 392 as we begin the service for Kol Nidre. How can we enter? I would like to read this in English responsibly with you. On this sacred night, O Lord, we have entered your house, we who are unworthy to enter.
For who may sojourn in your sanctuary, who may dwell upon your holy mountain?
They who walk before you in innocence and integrity, who act with perfect righteousness and speak the truth even in their hearts.
How then dare we enter your house, O Lord, knowing that our failings are so many?
We come strengthened by the assuring promise, the Lord is near to all who call upon the Lord in truth.
Who cleanse us of all self-righteousness and conceit. Teach us to speak to you in humility and in truth, and teach us, O Lord, to listen.
Once again, I ask you to read with me responsively on page 394, a prayer from Jack Reamer. Ribono shel olam, I hereby forgive whoever has hurt me, and whoever has done me any wrong, whether deliberately or accidentally, whether by word or by deed.
Punish on my account. May it be your will, O Lord, my God and God of my ancestors, that I sin no more, that I not revert to my old ways, that I not anger you anymore with my actions, that I do not evil in your sight.
Wipe away my sins with your great compassion, rather than through sickness or suffering. May these words of my mouth and the prayers that are in my heart be acceptable before you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. And once again, in page 395 at the bottom, we read responsively, may we speak the truth. O Lord our God, many are the evasions and deceits which we practice upon others and upon ourselves.
We long to speak and hear truth only, yet time and again, from fear of loss or hope of gain, from dull habit or cruel deliberation, we speak half-truths, we twist facts, we're silent when others lie, and we lie to ourselves.
But we stand now before you, and our words and our thoughts speed to one who knows them before we utter them. We know we cannot lie in your presence.
May our worship teach us to practice truth in speech and in thought before you and before one another.
Now, David Terescu, normally you are holding one of the three Torahs for Kol Nidre. We are not going to hold the Torahs tonight, but we are going to open the Ark, and since that's normally your chore and your great honor, I would like to ask you to open the Ark for us. We turn now to page 398. As the Ark is opened, I ask you to please rise. We begin the chanting of Kol Nidre. Kol Nidre v'yesarei v'charmei v'konomei v'chinu Bekinu say, O Shavuos, Dinidarno, O Deishtabano, O Deacharim no, Vediar sarno, al nafsho sono, Yom Kippur Is, ad Yom Kippurim, abolenu, abolenu, letovo, kulchon, icharatena vechon, Kolon, Yehol Sharon, Ay Shevikin, Ay Shevisin, Betelin, Umevutolin, La Sheririn, Velo Kayomin, Nidrana, Lo Nidre, Viesarana, Lo Esore, Ushevu Asana, Lo Shavuos. Maybe slide. I can turn around if you like.
ונשמח לכל עתות בני ישראל, ולגר הגר בתוכם, כי לכל העם בשגגה. סחתנה לעוון המסע כגודל חסדך, לך אשר נסעת למעשה ממצרים, ועדנה ושמנמה.
Vayomer Adonai, salachti kidvarecha. Shechianu.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם,
Shechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'yigianu, lazman hazeh. Please be seated. You're up next to Marcus. I'd like to invite up Dr. Mark Berenson, the president of Eitz Chaim Synagogue, the few words of wisdom. Just a minute. Here we go. We need this for the broadcast.
Thank you, Rabbi Berenson. I was not present last week. And the reason I wasn't present last week, but I am present tonight, is because I was hoping not to get sick with COVID for my daughter's wedding that happened this past weekend. And as I was leaving the house this evening, I had my speech for tonight, but I also had my daughter's Father of the Bride speech that I gave, and I would rather have read that tonight. Earlier this year, it seems as if we had the pandemic in our rearview mirror, and that it would feel so good to me to reach out to you at this time of the year compared to last year. However, once again, the pandemic is raging with no end in sight. Our synagogue had also shuttered due to the trauma of a devastating fire, and our future was somewhat uncertain. However, with the strong and determined leadership of Rabbi Berenson and Steve Brin, and the supportive and financial backing of the board and congregational members of Eitz Chaim Synagogue and the main Jewish Museum, we persevered, rebuilt, and recovered what we had lost. This also included previously needed structural and cosmetic improvements. We started to push ahead and return to our glory days. With the help of everyone's continued cooperation by getting vaccinated and wearing masks, hopefully the pandemic will soon subside and we can once again restart to get back to our normal lives and look forward to the upcoming 100th year anniversary celebration of our synagogue planned for next spring. As many of you are aware, Eitz Chaim Synagogue serves many functions, both religious and secular. Jewish life events, including Brit Milah, B'nai Mitzvahs, weddings, and funerals, as well as weekly religious services for Shabbat, weekly minions, and Jewish holidays takes place here. We are also very excited to welcome Cantor Sheila Nesis, our new Cantor in residence, who has joined us for one Friday evening service a month and for the high holidays, as well as celebrating other Jewish holiday events. Her musical talents have added nicely to the spiritual enjoyment of the service. As you may be aware, Etz Chaim does not have a dues structure to support the functioning of the synagogue. So at this time of year, we ask our membership for their continued financial commitments. This past year's support was outstanding, as we asked you for not only dues, but also to help rebuild the synagogue. This year, we also joined other local Jewish organizations using the Life and Legacy Grinspoon Foundation as a way to develop an endowment fund for our synagogue to help with future financial needs. Over the next year, members of the synagogue's Life and Legacy Committee will be contacting congregants with information concerning this worthwhile endeavor. Our board of directors have already been contacted and responded with signed letters of intent. I encourage you to please join us for any and all of what the synagogue has to offer, and please consider your continued financial support. Also, please feel free to contact me, the rabbi, and any of the board members with questions or concerns you may have. Wishing you Shana Tova Umatuka, a sweet and happy New Year.
Thank you very much, Mark. This isn't show business, but there is an expression in show business that you never want to follow a kid act or a dog act on stage. So I'm adding a third, is you never want to chant Kol Nidre with a professional cantor. She did an unbelievable job, and so as we were discussing who was going to do what, she said, well, why don't you do one and I'll do one? And I think next year when we have this discussion, we might have a different answer. It was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. If you were given a chance to go back and change something or some things in your life, what would you change? Most of us would change something, and many of us would change a lot of things. Last week was the 20th anniversary of 9/11, the attack on the Twin Towers in New York City. And we also brought our troops home, U.S. troops home, from Afghanistan in the last month. They went there 20 years ago to answer the attack on our American soil and to try and fight the terrorism there in Afghanistan so they wouldn't come to our shores. I'm not sure how it worked out, and we can't go back even one day and change anything. But perhaps now we'll have the opportunity to look forward and make better choices moving ahead. In my sermon to you on Rosh Hashanah, I spoke about the concept of Teshuva, which many people translate as repentance. We hear this word a lot, Teshuva, this time of year, but it's hard to translate Teshuva into English. It loses the nuance of the Hebrew word, and words do matter. The cantor and I just chanted Kol Nidre. It's one of the most recognized prayers in our culture, but it's not a prayer. It's actually a contract. We are in advance nullifying any vows that we make so that we will not be held accountable for them. Is that really necessary? It is. Words matter to us, and making a vow is a serious matter. So the word Teshuvah does mean repentance, and today in particular, we are supposed to repent for our past transgressions before we can ask for forgiveness. But the literal meaning of the word Teshuvah is to return. We return in our minds to review everything that has transpired from last Yom Kippur until today. And we should sincerely resolve not to repeat those same mistakes. But we need to do more than that. We need to also examine all of the good things that we have done, all of the people whom we have helped, all of the positive things that we have done to effectuate change for the better. What more can we do in the upcoming year as we engage in Tikkun Olam, continuing with God as partners in the creation and recreation of the world? I think that that is what Teshuvah is really all about. Let's examine one concept and see how we can improve upon it. Our religion offers us the opportunity through a series of guidelines to deal with personal offenses done to others and personal offenses done by others to us, and how to foster forgiveness both ways. After all, forgiveness is what Yom Kippur is all about. On this day, it is traditional to wear white. Some say it is because white shows the slightest stain, and it's not easy to cover up. Some mention that we dress in white to be closely resembling the angels, because on this day, out of all the days of the year, we most closely approach the purity of angels. In truth, we are told that white reminds us of the burial shrouds in which we will all be buried one day. It's not a happy thought, but it reminds us that we don't have forever. Truth is, no one knows how much time we do have, so we must do the work now, today, on this Yom Kippur, and moving forward, on the work that needs to be done on ourselves. Yes, Yom Kippur is about forgiveness, and if we have offended others, we are obligated to go to them and ask for forgiveness, but with humility and sincerity. Many people say, if I have offended you, please forgive me. I tried that with my first wife. It didn't work too well. If you've offended somebody, you know what you've done and they know what you've done. You're probably better off not mentioning something unless you can own up to it. And if you have done something wrong, you'll know it, and you need to acknowledge that you have hurt someone and express sincere regret. So we need to understand that it will take some serious reflection and introspection to change that part of who we are. If we sincerely regret the mistakes that we have made, we also need to do the work that is necessary to return to a time when we would not have made those mistakes. That is Teshuvah. To do that, we return to God, and we return to our community for help. We shouldn't think that we can simply say, I'm sorry, and all of a sudden, miraculously, we immediately become unblemished. It's naive to think that way, or worse, it could be conniving. Our great teacher, Maimonides, taught us that one who says, I will sin, and then repent, cannot be forgiven. Simply being sorry is not enough, and it cannot be a successful strategy for forgiveness. Change is also required. What if you are the one who has been hurt or offended? Is it okay if we hold grudges? Or do we have to forgive those who ask for forgiveness? You tell me. We learn the golden rule in Leviticus. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. We all know that. Does anybody know the sentence that immediately precedes that in the book of Leviticus? You shall not bear a grudge. Let's face it, keeping a grudge can be personally destructive to the one who keeps it. It can eat at you from the inside. There's an old Jewish saying that to bear a grudge is to drink poison and then hope the other person will die. It gnaws away at us, and it hurts us more than it hurts the other person. Forgiving grudges is a start. It's a way to love others and learn to love yourself. It's often not easy to do, but it's a perfect example of the type of changes that need to be made if we really truly want to be forgiven. But genuine forgiveness requires one additional step. Jewish law requires that once someone has been forgiven, you must never bring it up or remind that person ever again. That might be the hardest thing of all to do. Are any of you still holding grudges? They're hard to let go. I started off by asking, what would you change if you were given the chance? Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our fathers, tells us that there is an eye that sees everything, and there is an ear that hears everything, and there is a book where everything that we do in our lives is recorded. Do you believe that? I used to have a hard time believing that. How could everything be recorded in a book or some other fashion anywhere? How is that possible? But it's not so far-fetched to me now. Take a look around you. This service is recorded. Everything is recorded. We saw the tragic events surrounding George Floyd's death in the street because someone recorded them, and they were used to convict him in the wrongful death of George Floyd. They didn't convict him, they convicted the officer, Derek Chauvin. We have any Jeopardy fans here? No, just one? I bet you there's more. Yeah, a couple. So executive producer Mike Richards was chosen to be the permanent host of Jeopardy after Alex Trebek died, but he was fired last week after recording only one show. Why? Recorded footage of Mr. Richards using vulgar language and discriminatory phrases and jokes surfaced. Do you think Officer Chauvin or Mike Richards would like the chance to go back to the editing room of their lives and make some changes? What about you? Imagine now that you are viewing the entire life that you have lived since last Yom Kippur. It's unfolding right before your eyes. Every moment of your life is there for you to rewatch and to relive. You can see all that you have done in your life. What are your highlights from this past year? Once again, I ask you to focus not on all of the things that you have done wrong. As you review this past year, ask yourself, what good did I do? Who did I love? Who did I help? How did I make the world a better place? The prayers that we recite tonight and tomorrow will afford you plenty of opportunity to express regret and atonement for transgressions made during this past year. For now, focus on the good. No one can go back and change a single thing that they have done in the past. So right now, you should realize that you are standing in the editing room of your life and you're watching the events of your life from the past year unfold, but in reality, you're not editing. You're still filming the movie of your life. The film is not yet complete. Now, you are the director. What scenes would you like to see unfold that will make a difference? As you reflect upon your past behavior, this might be a good time to resolve to do more good in the future that will truly make a difference to others. It doesn't have to be anything monumental. Sometimes the smallest gestures can have the greatest impact upon others. A kind word or a smile could be the difference between life and death to a desperate individual who is really in need of something positive to happen in their life. You could be the lifeline that saves them. I know because it has happened to me. Maybe nothing that dramatic will ever happen to you. Maybe you might just be able to make one person's day a little bit brighter. And what's wrong with that? Everyone you meet is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. Please keep that in mind as you head into this new year. The time to reflect upon the last year will soon be gone. The gates will close tomorrow night at Mila. The time to reflect upon the last year will soon be gone. We are here to prepare for the rest of Yom Kippur and for the year that lies ahead. And with that, I wish you all Gemar Chatima Tova. May you all be sealed in the book of life and enjoy a happy and healthy 5,722 and beyond. We turn now back to our service on page 408. And I ask you if you would please rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Leolam Mevoed.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בדברו מעריב הרבים בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדרת את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם הרקיע כרצונו, בורא יום ולילה כולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומעביר לילה, ומבטיח בני יום ובלילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני
Amariv Arachim. Please be seated. I will ask you to turn to page 411, and we will once again read responsively at the top of the page these words. Let us commit our hearts and might to accept in love the sovereignty of heaven, to do that which is expected of us, to live the covenant day and night. Here.
Let no egotism, personal or national, seal our ears to the cry for compassion or to the voice of divine command. O Israel.
We are linked by a bond we are not free to break. We are of the covenant people whose ancestors heard God's voice, whose prophets beheld God in visions. We have been compared to the lamb, torn by vicious wolves, and to the lion, unafraid to walk alone among the peoples. The Lord is our God.
In a pagan world which treated nature as divine and adored gods with the vices of mortals, our people stood apart, witnesses to a daring faith. The God of holiness, who loves us, demands justice and mercy, and will one day be the God of all humanity. The Lord is one.
The universe, its diversity, complexity, and seeming contradictions all derive from one source, the one creator. People, unlike by history, race, and temperament, are yet of one family, the children of one parent. God is our King, whose kingship is not in a far-off age. It is in us and upon us, if we will now accept its yoke. And before we chant the Shema, I want to point out that during the year I always get questions, why do we not say the second line of the Shema out loud? Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Because we only reserve that for Yom Kippur. And if you want me to explain it further, you'll have to come on Saturday morning, and I'll give you the long and involved detail. But we do say this out loud as the Cantor will lead us.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Israel. page 412. We chant this first paragraph together. בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושילנתם לבניך ודיברתם בעם, ושבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We continue with the reading silently on pages 414 and the first section of 416. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם.
And now we'll continue in the middle of page 418 with Hama'avir. Can you zoom this one? U'v'malchut b'ratzon kiblu aleihem, u'malchut b'ratzon kiblu aleihem, Moshe u'vnei Yisroel lechanu shira besimcha rabba. Moshe u'vnei Yisroel lechanu shira besimcha rabba. V'yomeru, v'yomeru, v'yomeru cholam.
Mechamocha b'lim Adonai, mechamocha nedar b'kodesh, norat tehilot osei וקיים לפני משה זיליאנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כפזה אדוני את continue on page 420. We ask God to be sheltered in its sun, under its sun, under its rain, under everything that is holy and wonderful in our world.
הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Page 422, חצי קדיש. יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבה. Amen. Thank you very much. וימליך מלכותה בחייכון ויומכון ובחיי בכל בית ישראל בקלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו
Amen. Thank you, Lord. Yesh me'raba mevorach. Berichu.
Leila Leila Mikol Berchata Vashirata
Tush bechata v'nechemata. Asked to turn now to page 424 and rise for the Amidah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא האל עליון גומר חסדים הטובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבותינו ומביא גאול לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה.
זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וחשפנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים, למענך אלוהים חיים, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי מתים מטרה להושיע, מחלק החיים בחסד,
חיי מתים ברחמים רבים,
סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ולקיים אמונתו לשני עפות. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך מאמית ומחייב ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך עם הרחמים זוכר יצוריו לחיים הרחמים, ונאמנת לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
You may be seated. Continue with the second to the last paragraph on 426. 426. ושים לך אתה אדוני לבדך על כל מעשיך בהר ציון משכן כבודך ובירושלים עיר קודשך, כך כתוב בדברי קודשך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין אלוה מבלעדיך, כך כתוב. ויגבר אדוני צבאות במשפט, והאל הקדוש נקדש בצדקה. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש. אתה בחרתנו מכל העמים, אהבתנו ורצית בנו, ורוממתנו מכל הלשונות, וקידשתנו במצוותיך, וקרבתנו מלכנו לעבודתך. ושמך הגדול והקדוש עלינו קורסו. Ya'aleh v'yavo is in the middle of the page, and let us read together in the English on page 429. Our God and God of our ancestors, we recall and invoke the remembrance of our ancestors, the piety of their prayers for messianic deliverance, the glory of Jerusalem, your holy city, and the destiny of the entire household of Israel. As we seek your love and mercy, we pray for the deliverance and for life, for happiness and for peace on this day of atonement. Remember us, O Lord. Bless us with all that is good. Recall your promise of merciful redemption. Spare us, have compassion upon us, and graciously save us. To you we lift our eyes in hope, for you, our sovereign, our gracious and merciful God. And now we continue in the middle of page 430 with Ritzeh, accept our prayer.
רצה אדוני
Please read with me the English at the bottom of page 431. This paragraph, which says Thanksgiving for daily miracles, is in the Amidah that we say 3 times a day, 7 days a week. And so we always read it in Hebrew, Modim anachnu lach. Let's read it this time in English so we understand what we are saying. Please join with me. We thankfully acknowledge you, our God and God of our ancestors, Lord of eternity. You are the source of our strength, even as you have been our protecting shield in every generation. We thank you and proclaim your praise for our lives, which are in your hand, for our souls, which are in your care, for your miracles, which are daily with us, and for your wondrous kindness at all times, morning, noon, and night. Source of all goodness, your mercies never fail. Source of compassion, your kindness never cease. You are our abiding hope. Continue at the top of page 432. V'yal kulam yisbarak v'yishmam shimcha malkeinu tamid le'olam vo'ed uchshov l'chaim tovim kol b'nei v'risecho v'chol l'chaim iduchosela v'halelu shimcha b'yemes Oel Yeshua Seinu v'Yezro Seinu Sela Baruch Ato Adonai Atov Shimcha Ulecha Noel Yodos.
Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom v'tov beinecha levorach et amacha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה לשומרך. בספר חיים וברכה ושלום, ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה, לחיים ושלום, נזכר ונכתב לפניך. אנחנו בכל עמך בית ישראל, לחיים טובים ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה
I mentioned in my sermon earlier tonight that you will have plenty of opportunities to express your regrets. And now we have one coming up on page 434 in the Hebrew. Please feel free to follow along or read the English for yourself. It's a very familiar prayer, Ashamnu, and I ask you to please rise.
So I'm going to stop. I know this is serious, but I do want us to do it together. So we're going to do this as a call and response. And you have to just sing and say exactly what I do. So there are no secrets, and I'm not tricking you. I promise. What I do, you do. Let's try it again.
You want us to repeat?
Yes,
Okay.
I want you to repeat.
Okay. I'll help you.
good to be serious, but not to take ourselves too seriously, right?
Ashamnu
Ashamnu
Bagadnu
Bagadnu
Gazalnu
Gazalnu
Dibarnu Dofi
Dibarnu Dofi
Evinu
Evinu
Vehirshanu
Vehirshanu
Zadnu
Zadnu
Hamasnu
Hamasnu
Tafalnu Shaker
Yatznura Kizavnu Latznu Maradnu Niatznu Sararnu Avinu Ashanu Tsaranu Kishinu Orem Roshanu Shichaznu Yavnu Ta'inu Titanu Ya 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 Ay 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 ay. Please be seated for just a moment. Give you a chance to sit in between confessional prayers. I would ask you to please read the last half of page 435 in the English with me. I will begin with the first paragraph. We have turned away from your mitzvot and your goodly laws, and we are poorer for our disobedience. You are just in all that has come upon us. You have been faithful, yet we have done evil. You know the mysteries of the universe as well as the secrets of every mortal. You search the deepest recesses of the human soul and probe all our thoughts and motives. Nothing escapes you. Nothing is concealed from you.
Therefore, may be your will, Lord our God, and God of our ancestors, to forgive all our sins, to pardon all our iniquities, and to grant us atonement for all our transgressions.
Okay, in a moment, the cantor will chant Al-Chet. We were not going to do the entire thing. I would invite you to follow along in the Hebrew or read along in the English. We will have various parts of this that we say throughout tonight and, well, today and tomorrow, so that we'll try to get the entire thing in. But we will do the familiar phrase, V'ya lekulam. And so you've sat long enough, please rise. 436.
שחטאנו לפניך
רצון וחטא שחטאנו לפניך באימות הלב. על החטא שחטאנו לפניך בברית האט, והחטא שחטאנו לפניך בבימוי שפתיים. על החטא שחטאנו לפניך בגילוי עריות, ולחטא שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי ובסתר. And on the very bottom of the page,
ויעל לכולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו. Please be seated. We now Mimrama O Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Yal Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Yal Kol Yisrael.
On page 445, on the top of the page, there is an invitation to God, 445. Please join as we read this together. The focus of prayer is not the self. Prayer comes to pass in a complete turning of the heart toward God, towards God's goodness and power. It is the momentary disregard of our personal concerns, the absence of self-centered thoughts, which constitute the art of prayer. Feeling becomes prayer in the moment in which we forget ourselves and become aware of God. Prayer is an invitation to God to intervene in our lives, to let the divine will prevail in our affairs. It is the opening of a window to God in our will, an effort to make God the Lord of our soul. With this in mind, many times over this last couple of days, I have mentioned to you, read the prayer that we are reading, or read something on your own, or spend a few moments in quiet reflection with this goal in mind. If you can focus on why we are here, you will make a connection to God, and that's the reason for the day. So whatever works for you, I invite you to try that. And now we turn to page 458. Shema Koleinu, sorry.
Shema השיבנו אדוני אליך, השיבנו אליך ונשובה. חדש ימינו, שמע קולנו, אדוני אלוהינו, חוס ורחם עלינו, וקבל ברחמים, ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו.
I ask you now to turn the page with me to page 461. Ki anu amecha. We are going to sing it tomorrow. We'll say it in English today. We'll let the Chazan rest her voice a little bit. And so I would ask you to read this responsively with me, and your part is the part that's printed in italics. Our God and God, we're going to sing this one in a moment. For we are your people and you are our God. We are your servants and you are our master. We are your possession and you are our destiny. We are your vineyard and you are our guardian. We are your faithful and you are our beloved. We are your subjects and you are our ruler. And now we go to the very top of the page in the Hebrew as we sing together.
Go ata mamreinu v'yaleku no Eloheinu v'Elohei Avuseinu Selach Elonu Michal Elonu Kaper Elonu. Now we turn to page. You notice that we have Al Chet again, we have a Shamnu again. Normally we would say those again, but we are not going to do that. So now we turn to page 472 for Avinu Malkeinu. Once again, as we did on Rosh Hashanah, the Cantor's version of this song doesn't exactly follow the way it's written in your book, although all of the verses are there. So I invite you to follow along either in the Hebrew or the English to the best that you would like to do it, or just listen to what the Cantor has to say. And as we begin to say this prayer and sing it and listen to the Cantor, I ask once again, David, if you would go up and open the ark for Avinu Malkeinu. We're on page 472.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu
seated. David? Yeah.
Page 476, Kaddish Shalem. יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבו.
Amen.
למד ברכרותיה וימליך מלכותיה. בחייכונו ויומכונו ובחיידכו לבית ישראל. בגלו בזמן קריב וימרו.
Amen. שמי רבו מבורך, לעולם ולעולם מעולמיו, יזבורך.
יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמו וקודשו.
בריחו.
לעילא ולעולמים כל ברכתה ושירתה, ושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירם בעלמא וימרו.
Amen.
ותפל צלות וגבעותון לכל ישראל, קודם אבון ושמיה וימרו.
Amen.
יש לברא משמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, וימרו.
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ויאמרו.
Amen. I have a couple of very quick announcements before we conclude with the mourner's Kaddish and a couple of prayers. First of all, I'd like to thank Steve Brin and Jody Sadloff for providing the flowers on the bima and the back table, as they have done for, 15 years or so. Very, very appropriate white flowers for Yom Kippur, and we thank them for always remembering to bring them for us. If you think you will not be here tomorrow but would like to watch on your YouTube transmission, take a book with you if you don't already have one, so you can follow along at home. We've given out many, many books. I'd like to get them back at some point before Yom Kippur next year, but feel free to take them now and use them throughout the year if you like. There's some great readings in there. Tomorrow morning we begin our service at 10, and our estimated time is 1 o'clock. It's an estimate. We may finish earlier. We may finish, I don't think we'll finish much later. Then we will take a break until 5:30. At 5:30 we will meet again here for our Yizkor service. And then we will follow that after a short break with Mincha and Nila, and we will blow shofar tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. I will caution you that technically Yom Kippur is not over until 7:30. I'll leave it up to you whether you break fast at 7 or not. It depends on whatever your custom is, but we will blow shofar at 7 o'clock. Any announcements that you would like to make that I have forgotten? Zero. Okay, great. Great. Well, then we will now continue and almost conclude with Aleinu, which is on page 478. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח
לאדון הכל, עושה גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שמנו כהן, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלוכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד אורץ, ומושב יקרה בשמיים ממעל, ושכינה סוזו ושכינה סוזו וגבהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמס מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום וישבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים
בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ ועל הארץ, מתוך אז אין עוד, אין עוד. נאמר, והיו אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. We now turn, please, to page 482 for the Mourner's Kaddish. Tomorrow is Yizkor, and we will do a formal remembrance of all the people that have passed away. But it has been our custom here on the Kol Nidre to, if you would like, to have someone's name remembered before we say the Mourner's Kaddish. And before I forget, and I'm going to ask all of you if you'd like to mention a name, I do want to remember Michael Turk. Michael was the first husband of my mother-in-law, Marlene Gozansky, and he died on September 24th, 1985, on the morning of Kol Nidre. So this is an anniversary of sorts, and we remember him. And now I would like to ask if any of you would like to remember loved ones who have passed. And you have to speak up. Yes. Libby Miller and Alan Miller. And Mabel Burdain? Very good, whatever you said. Yes.
Stephen Simon's brother passed away 2 weeks ago, and I apologize, but his name just walked out of my head.
Stephen Simon's brother, and I know him too, but I can't remember it either. Anybody else? Yes. Professor Guido Goldman. I'm repeating so that they can hear us on YouTube. Yes. Stephanie Levitt. Levy. Okay, thank you.
Same people that have just passed in the last year.
Anybody you want.
Arthur Cope.
Arthur Cope, thank you. Anybody else? Yeah. 1 second, Merle, yeah?
My parents,
Arthur and Flora Rosenberg. Yes.
Harold and Lillian Nelson and David and
Harold and Mildred Nelson and David and
Lillian Roy.
Lillian Roy, her parents and her husband's parents.
Yes, and our friend
Abby Gailey?
Evan Gailey.
Okay. Yes.
Our friend Arthur Fink.
Arthur Fink, yes. Yes, over here, please. Joe. Thank you. Joe Black. Anybody else? I don't want to leave anybody out. Yes. Dr. Irving B. Fisher, your father. Yes. Yes.
Kenneth Brownstein.
Kenneth Brownstein. Thank you. Yes.
Abe and Mel Feinberg, and my uncle and two aunts, Gertrude Rodman, David Rodman, and Betty Rodman.
Gertrude Rodman, Betty Rodman, and David Rodman, aunts and uncles of Mark. Also, Abe Feinberg and Mel Feinberg, both longtime members of this synagogue. Jonathan. Who was that? Alan Brack? Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, yes. Dr. Sidney Davidson. Oh, Jacobson. Okay, Sidney Jacobson, sorry. See, I'm used to, I know a Sidney Davidson. By the way, we'll say it for Sidney Davidson as well, your father. Okay, anybody else? All right. If your custom allows, please join with me as we recite a mourner's Kaddish on page 482. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba v'yalma divrach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael v'agala u'vizman kori v'imeru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach li'olam ololmei olmaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudisha b'richu le'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shamaya v'chaim oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav hu yaseh shalom oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Please be seated. We are almost finished, I promise, but we do have one prayer that we say for one more week until the end of Sukkot, and that is Psalm 27, and you'll find it on page 485, and it is our custom to read this responsively in English, and I will begin. 485 at the top of the page. The Lord is my light and my help. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Whom shall I dread?
Should an army be arrayed against me, I would not fear. Should war beset me, still would I be confused.
One thing I ask of the Lord, for this do I yearn, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all my life, to feel the goodness of the Lord in the Lord's sanctuary.
On the day of trouble, God will shield me, lifting me to safety. My head will be high above my foes.
In God's tabernacle, I will bring offerings of jubilation with chanting and joyous singing.
O Lord, hear my voice when I call. Be gracious to me and answer me.
O Lord, I truly seek you. Do not hide yourself from me. Turn not in anger from your servant.
You have always been my help. Do not forsake me, O God, my deliverer.
Teach me your way, O Lord. Lead me on a straight path. Deliver me not to the will of my enemies.
Trust in the Lord and be strong. Take courage and hope in the Lord.
Okay, we finally come to the last prayer, and that is Yigdahl, which is on page 486. We have a long time tradition going back to some of you who remember David Rubinoff. David Rubinoff, your old neighbor, David Rubinoff, who sang in the choir at Shari Tefillah, was also a member of this synagogue, and he always did Yigdahl a certain way, and we've been doing it ever since, at least 50 years. And it's a very monotonal, very mournful tune. And I sang it once for the Cantor, but I never really taught it to her, so but she might sing along, she might not. Please join me if you would like to sing along, and if you don't sing it in tune, that's fine. It's not really much of a tune. So we continue on the top of page 46 with our last prayer for the night. Yigdal Elohim Chai ve'yishtabach nimsa ve'enes el metziuto echad ve'en yachid ke'ichudo nelam ve'gam ein sof le'achduto ein lo demut aguf v'yeino guf lo naroch elav kedushato kadmon lechol davar asher nivra rishon v'yein reshit lereshito Hino Adon Olam v'chol notzar yoreh gedulato umalchuto shefa nevuato netano el anshe segulato v'sifarto lo kam beYisrael כמו שעוד נביא ומביט את אמונתו. תורת אמת נתן לי המועל, על יד נביאתו נאמן ביתו. לא יחליף אוהל ולא ימיר דרכו.
Tehilato Leolamim Lezulato Sofe Veodea Setarenu Mabit Lesof Davar Bikadmato Gomel Leish Chesed Kemi follow Notain Lerashara Kerishato Ishlach Leketz Yamin Meshichenu Liftos Mechaike Kates Yeshu Ato Meitim Yechayel Berov Chazdo Baruch Adeyad Shem Teilato Meitim Yechayel Berov Chazdo Baruch Adeyad Shem Teilato. Good Yontif to everybody. I hope to see you tomorrow, either on YouTube or here in our shul. Have a good, meaningful, and easy fast.